This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com with my review of the second last episode of Dark Side of the Ring. Season 4, this was the Bash at the Beach 2000 episode where there's a deep dive podcast with both Vince Russo and Kevin Sullivan regarding Bash at the Beach 2000 in the description of this video. This was the first Dark Side of the Ring that I fell asleep through. By far the most boring episode ever. Before I would have said it was the North Korea, but I didn't fall asleep through the North Korea. I actually fell asleep through this episode twice, to the point that I rewound it, and then I fell asleep again. So if I missed some of it, I mean, I'm very familiar with the whole situation. One good thing I'll say is I'm glad they didn't have Jim Cornette in it, because I found in the Brawl for All when they had both Russo and Cornette, it really was almost unbearably bad hearing those two throughout the whole episode. They picked on Russo a lot in this. I hated this angle. It was an angle, by the way, according to Russo, and I know Hogan tried to sue Russo over this, and he did not win the lawsuit. Vince Russo beat him in court over the defamation part of this. I was never a Jeff Jarrett fan, so having Jeff Jarrett beat Hulk Hogan didn't make any sense to me to begin with. I'm kind of neutral in that, and also Booker T ended up with the title. I couldn't tell you one of Booker T's matches when he was champion in WCW. It was bad at that time. I fully admit Vince Russo was a great booker in the Attitude Era and had success in TNA. I know he had a lot of factors against him in WCW, but I was a big WCW fan. I hated WCW at this time. I hated the whole Jeff Jarrett slap nuts gimmick. I hated Jarrett getting a push. Jarrett was in this trying to plead innocence. Like, he didn't want to do the thing where he laid down in the ring for Hulk Hogan, which was planned, which Bischoff in this admitted was planned. It was Russo coming out after that wasn't planned, and burying Hogan more. But like, I found that they really gave Jeff Jarrett a lot in this. Like, they really put Jeff Jarrett over. I like both Eric Bischoff and Vince Russo. I think they're both smart in some ways, and they both added to the business. Lance Storm complained about Russo in this. I think Russo is one of the few that actually got Lance Storm over. I mean, when he was doing the Team Canada thing, I believe that was under Vince Russo. I think that was pretty much the main time he was over, because I remember in WWE they did the boring gimmick with him, which I always did find Lance Storm boring myself. I'm not saying he's not a great fake technical wrestler. If you guys like fake technical wrestling, I'll watch MMA if I want to see technical stuff, because that stuff is useful. The fake technical wrestling stuff you see in wrestling, most of the time, is not going to work for you in real life. So for the fake technical wrestlers with no amateur credentials, I mean, I'd rather watch a Goldberg match. But yeah, overall, there's nothing really new in this. Russo put out his side, which we've heard many times, including in interviews with me, why he left WWE for WCW. They added SmackDown. They didn't want to pay him any extra, and Vince McMahon told him to get a nanny to deal with the more time he'd not be around his kids. Vince Russo is a good person in real life. I can tell you guys that from all the wrestlers I've met. I've been in wrestling since 2001. Whether he played a great heel, he's one of the most hated of all time. But as far as being like a good human being, in my experience with him, he's a very good human being. I would put him in the top 10 nicest people I've met in wrestling. And he's not the type that's going to try and rip you off or anything when dealing with him, like a lot of wrestlers and wrestling personalities are. but I can understand. I find it commendable that he wouldn't want to continue with WWE due to not spending enough time with his family, because your kids only grow up once. Um, but yeah, at the same time, I did not like WCW when he was booking it. I hated it at that time. So there you go. That's my review of it. I mean, there's nothing new. I fell asleep twice. It's very boring. The North Korea episode from, I think, the previous season, season 3, was the other one I found really boring. But this one, as I said, I literally fell asleep twice watching this. The Marty Jannetty one is the last one. I'm looking more forward to that. You guys can tell me what you think of in the comments. Hello, Matt Bourne. The Matt Bourne one was way better than this. So was the Bam Bam Bigelow. I miss WCW too. I love WCW overall. They have their agendas, young Macho Man, and they play with footage. They manipulate footage. But as I've watched every show so far, so for a wrestling fan, smart like me, and the show covers a lot of the same topics. I like seeing how it's covered. So I'd rather watch Dark Side of the Ring than actual wrestling shows. And by the way, Dark Side of the Ring overall destroys Impact in ratings. Like, Impact gets 1/6 of the rating the Dark Side of the Ring gets. WCW was a joke, but I liked it. I liked WCW Saturday nights. I loved WCW, particularly in the early 90s. I was a huge WCW fan, to the point that when they finally came to Canada in 1996 for that Hogan versus Jacques Rougeau match, I begged and begged and begged my parents to allow me to go. And I even saved up my allowance to buy $100 second row seat for that, because my parents they were never big wrestling fans, and they thought I was obsessed with wrestling and it wasn't good for me, which probably is true ultimately. So they never actually bought me wrestling tickets, other than one time when they surprised me as a kid, told me we were going on a trip somewhere else, and ended up taking me to another town to watch WWE, because there was a period in I think it was '94, they didn't come to Ottawa at all. Right? Like, WWE's business was so bad, they didn't come to my town at all. So my parents surprised me. They said we were going on like a 2-day trip somewhere and drove me to a WWE show. You really hope I upload more Brody King matches. There are some Brody King matches on this channel. Back when we had a deal with PCW Ultra, Brody King is in AEW now. So I can't upload stuff I don't have permission to upload. Everything I upload on this channel, I make deals with people to upload. Or I have collaboration deals like what I had with PCW Ultra at that time. But I was there for Brody King's last match before he went to Ring of Honor. Then he was signed by AEW after Ring of Honor was pretty much dead. Now Ring of Honor is owned by AEW too. Someone says WCW was bad from '99 onwards. He liked it better than AEW. I mean, as bad as it was, I remember at one point in the summer of 2000, I was trying to convince my dad during the summer to take me on a trip to see Nitro, because I was still that much of a WCW fan. I can't say I was a massive Attitude Era fan. I was an 80s WWE fan and early 90s when I was a kid. Around 94, around the TL Hopper era, when Jim Cornette started to have more of his hand in the booking, with all those crappy guys like Alex Porto, and really horrible gimmicks like the Goon. I got turned off and switched more to WCW. And then I watched it during the Attitude Era, but I wasn't a massive fan. Because I remember the only, from the time I started watching wrestling to graduation from high school, I only ever missed a WWE show one time in my town, and it was for our amateur wrestling tournament, which I ended up winning. But I remember, like, I, as obsessive as a fan was, and I used to think it was the end of the world to even consider missing a show when it came to town. By the Attitude Era, when I missed that show due to an amateur wrestling tournament, I really didn't care. So although Austin was entertaining, I always liked the Undertaker. I preferred the NWO stuff and everything going on in WCW. And then as the 2000s came on, I really did. I still followed the news and stuff, but I don't really. I can't really get into wrestling anymore. The behind the scenes stuff is way more interesting than in front of the camera stuff to me. Anyways, guys, let me know what you thought in the description. I'll give this one a thumbs down. Hope they gave Russo a good payday out of that. Jeff Jarrett has to be one of the most overrated wrestlers of all time. Great politician, and lucky for his father being Jerry Jarrett. How was Natty Neidhart back in the day? Very passionate. Very passionate. I remember her crying after Stampede wrestling matches if she had made any type of mistake. Like, she took it very serious. I was there when she had her WWE tryout, as well as Tyson Kidd. I was in Deep South Wrestling as a non-contract wrestler when she had her tryout. And again, something happened with her. I forget. She got accidentally headbutted or something. She was cut. So she couldn't do like the last couple days of her tryout. And I remember how upset she was over that. Like, but they had already pretty much decided they were going to hire her at that point, and she's been one of the most successful women wrestlers of all time. Great girl. And the last time I saw her was backstage when I was doing security at a WWE show, and she gave me a big hug, and it was funny because like they were giving us like the walk around backstage. To tell us what to look for the security stuff, because I was working for the arena. I worked for like 12 or 13 years at the arena here doing security for everything. And I just remember when we walked by Natty like put me over in front of all the security guards. So she made me look cool to all of them. So nothing bad to say about her or TJ Wilson. Great people. I'm glad TJ has his agent's job. That was a hit piece on Russo, but whatever. Like, they did a hit piece on me too. It gives me publicity. More people know who we are out of that. More people search our names. I mean, Hogan did have creative control, but they signed him to that creative control. But as I said, Booker T did not change business around making him champion. I got nothing against Booker T, but like, he didn't come close, and neither did Jeff Jarrett, to touching the star power of fame that Hogan had. And Hogan ended up having great success when he went back to WWE. The match with The Rock at WrestleMania, one of the greatest matches of all time. That I think what's one of the matches that the crowds were most into of all time. So Hogan still had stuff left in him. I could understand how he'd be difficult to deal with. But as I said, I like Hogan. Honestly, like Hogan. I like Bischoff. I like Vince Russo. Jeff Jarrett, as a person, I don't mind him. But I think he's overrated, and they really put Jarrett over in this. So he must be friends with the producers or something. Because he's had longevity and stuff. He's a great politician. He's lucky his dad was rich. But that whole Slapnuts era of WCW freaking sucked. The whole, like, what the even the name Slapnut. Maybe for Southern people it's cool, and that's fine. I do like Tennessee. I love Tennessee, particularly your congressman. You people are very nice from Tennessee, but the whole Jeff Jarrett stealing the Honky Tonk Man's guitar gimmick. What the hell was good about that? I'm sorry. It was crap to me. And then the one guy that had pushed him, Russo, he buries now. So there's an example of somebody that's not loyal. Anyways, have a great day.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if